Welcome back to the All Things Sports Podcast. I'm your co-host, as usual, Small Town EP, coming to you live from the chilly city of Atlanta. In the weekend where Alabama rose into the college football playoff, Jordan Love completes a revenge game in Patrick Mahomes' first trip to Green Bay, and the Arizona Coyotes defeat the last five Stanley Cup champions. All Things Sports is back to give you the real in sports. Today's guest, a familiar face and friend of the show, Kev. Good to see you again. Haven't seen you in a couple episodes. How you doing?
Good, man. Good. It was glad to be back. Always fun to be here and maybe we'll have to get back into a little bit of sports with you guys.
Love that, love that. I see you. I see you there with the Hurricane green and orange in the back. I know they got the pinstripe bowl. We'll get into a little bit of college football in 1 second, and then as always, I'm joined by Mr. Heat in five himself, live from the, as usual, little more than chilly than Atlanta, New York City. Shout out to Reese from Broward County. But June, how you doing, Mr. Heat and Five? How is everything? I spoke it to you yesterday, but we back today for the Monday night episode.
It's good, man. Everything is good. It's great. I hit up Kev today. He said he was down to record. I didn't
Hey.
prepare myself to watch him, dress up in that Indiana Pacers playing tournament, orange and blue. But here we are. How y'all doing, man?
We're doing great, man. It's a beautiful Monday night. We got beautiful Monday night football going on. Great game. We'll get into a little bit of a look into that in 1 second. But let's kick it off with the controversy of the weekend, y'all boys. Alabama defeats Georgia in the SEC championship.
Whew.
Rolls, roll tide, rolls straight into the college football playoffs. You see it up there in the ticker right now, what the playoff will be. Gentlemen, I'll start with June. Question of the weekend. Did the committee get this right?
I think it's a tough question, bro. I mean, it's a bit subjective. In my honest opinion, I do think they got it right. As far as, well, you know what? Let me kind of break this down because I don't think there was a right answer here, if you
Hmm.
will. And that's what everybody kind of needs to understand. Like, Georgia to me is the best team in the country. You put Georgia up against either four of these teams, and I like their chances. Obviously, we saw what happened in the SEC championship. Alabama just beat them. I think if Alabama played them again, it would probably go a little differently. But that's neither here nor there. And it's only fair that Alabama, one-loss team that wins the SEC, gets in the college football playoff. That being said, a team that beat them early in the season, a conference champion of themselves, Texas, I feel like there was a fair space for them. Michigan, undefeated Big Ten champion. There's no way you can't miss. You can miss that. They deserve to be number one, and they're playing like the best team in the country at the moment. And then obviously Washington winning the Pac-12 and going undefeated with a Heisman candidate, Michael Penix Jr. It's only right. So the thing about Florida State, right, on the outside looking in, is more, in my opinion, about their quarterback situation and their injury situation. It's a bit unfair. Jordan Travis gets hurt, and they win out. They win the ACC. And I mean, listen, bro. If this was the Hurricanes, and you were to tell me we went out and went undefeated and won the ACC and didn't make the college football playoff for whatever reason, I'd be going ballistic. So I definitely understand, Florida State and their displeasure with how things went. Uh, but frankly, I think the committee ultimately believes that it's a total different team with and without Jordan Travis. They were able to win games without their starting quarterback, but they weren't able to win them the same. Their strength of schedule was also like 55th in the country. So I think that spoke a bit of volumes to why they decided they wouldn't put Florida State in there. Um, yes, Auburn did have to, excuse me, Alabama did have to, get a last second Hail Mary to beat Auburn in the Iron Bowl to even put themselves in this position. But, I don't when it comes to SEC games and like the Iron Bowl, the SEC championship, like you got to win those games. It doesn't matter if you win, you know what I'm saying, with a blocked field goal kick or whatever the case is, a penalty, a false start that cost. Listen, if you come out of that game victorious, it says a lot about your program. And that Auburn, Alabama is always going to be something to watch. So all that being said, I think the committee did as best as they could with this top four. Obviously, my fandom hater, you know what I'm saying? Like in me is like, yeah, screw Florida State. Like, I don't believe that they're not deserving. That's not my sentiment. My sentiment is that, yeah, they definitely won the conference. They went undefeated. But frankly, like I said, they are a different team, and they haven't been able to be as dominant as they were all season due to the fact that they're playing with a backup quarterback. And the committee knows that. The ratings, it's about that too, guys. Like, wake up. We don't want to see a backup quarterback in the college football playoff. So I think it's going to be.
We don't want to see a game like TCU getting the brakes blown off of them last year either.
Exactly. So, Kev, I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm not sure if I kind of just said everything, but I would love to hear what you feel about this top four and what we're going to get.
Yeah, I think you said it, exactly, made all the points that I would have made regarding FSU. And the other side of it that I would argue is this is not the same Alabama team that we watched at the beginning of the year that lost to Texas either. Yeah. So this Alabama team, Jalen Milroe has been playing much better as the year has gone along. So for me, it's the same. It's just like, and we've seen it. People want to say the same thing happened with Ohio State, and they when JT Barrett got hurt, and they ended up winning a championship with Cardale Jones as their quarterback. It's a totally different situation that we're in. We saw Cardale Jones go out and beat Wisconsin the next game 55-0 before they played in the Big Ten championship and won that too. So we just saw two games for Florida State where they did not look good at all on offense. They looked like the Jets, a great defense that's going to keep you in the game. Yep. I keep saying this is like, would you put the Jets in the playoffs because they've got an elite defense? And I understand this is it's like apples and oranges because that's not how it works in the NFL. But that's the best comparison I think you could make with this team is we've seen for two games that if Jordan Travis is not quarterback at FSU, they're not the same offense. And there's no doubt in my mind that if they're undefeated and Jordan Travis is healthy, they're in the playoff. And I think FSU fans acknowledge that. And if you do, then there's your answer. Like, to me, it's clear. You had to choose between one of them. I almost I'm surprised FSU is 5 and is above Georgia. That's the biggest surprise to me. I would have put Georgia above FSU even. But luckily, also, we won't have to worry about this next year. There will be 12 teams. But I'm sure 13 will say we deserve this. But we won't have an undefeated team, an undefeated conference champion at that be left out anymore. So it's unfortunate the way it happened because you don't want to see injuries impact a whole season like that. FSU, I think, is one of the 4 best teams in college football. If Travis Jordan is, or Jordan Travis is there, his name should be Jordan Travis. I feel like I always want to say that. If Jordan Travis were, or his name should be Travis Jordan, I feel. But if Jordan Travis were was healthy and was the quarterback, I think that they are one of the 4 best teams in college football. But unfortunately, he's not, and that's just the way it goes. So
the only argument that I think that Florida State fans have, because again, as always, I share the same sentiments. I'm a Hurricane fan, so it's fuck FSU all around. Fun city to be in if you're in college anyway, but that's besides the point. The only argument I think that they have is why would you put us at number 4 the week before and then, just drop us out? The committee apparently answered that question during, the voting and everything. And they said they didn't have a big enough sample size of Rudemaker to make that decision. I mean, if it's tough because you're a third-string quarterback. So how big of a sample size do you want from me? Like half of a Northern Alabama game? It's Northern Alabama. Let's be serious. You know what I mean? I think that would be the only kind of argument to the FSU organizations and fans have is why did you put us at 4 the week before and then drop us down to what is it 6 if I'm not mistaken at this point?
No, they're 5 now.
They're 5. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah,
they're 5.
Bama jumped them.
But outside of that, I mean, yeah, no one wants to see another TCU. You know what happened to TCU last year, which was just embarrassing for college football. We spent some time talking about it on the pod last year. I think the committee got it right. I do think it's a tough question to answer, like whether it's right or wrong. A lot of people are saying they need to take it to the NFL way, but there's no way to do that in college because there's no schedule equivalent. There's no like you'd be leaving a bunch of non-Power 5 schools out, obviously by default, like you already do. So you can't move it. And this is the reason that there's a committee because you can't move it.
Right.
You can't organize it like the NFL. So there has to be a committee.
Right.
I do think they got it right. I do think that Alabama beating the number 1 team in the country in the SEC championship, premier college football, definitely deserves it.
Not only that, that's probably the best single win of any team has had all year in college football. Is beating a team that hadn't lost in 29 games and is the back-to-back defending national champion. There's not going to be a better win by anybody in the whole season. So you have to reward Alabama for it. And that's, I mean, then you get into like, if Georgia won, then what do you do? Because are you going to say Georgia's obviously got to get in. So who do you leave out? Like, who does FSU believe in that case you should leave out? But if you think if Georgia got in, if Georgia wins, they get in, then if Alabama beats that team, then they should get in.
Right. Going back to that point you made, EP, that the College Football Playoff Committee, didn't believe they saw enough of the backup quarterback.
The backup to the backup.
Right. At the end of the day, this is a Florida State team who, with this backup quarterback, yes, they did beat, I forgot, was it Jackson? What was it? Northern Alabama. They win that game, and then they come off of a 24-15 win against Florida, who lost the last 4 games or 5, who lost their last 5 games of the season, and then they win, in the ACC championship, 16-6. So it's just not convincing enough that this team is good enough to play against the caliber of teams in the top 4. And so if you were to put them at number 4, I mean, good luck against Michigan is what the committee probably sees. And I think us as a country as well, like, there's definitely going to be, first of all, we do this every year. And I've been recording the podcast since 2017. The college football playoff has been a thing from like 2013 or so. And I feel like every single year there's going to come to a point where there's disagreement, right? And some team, some fan base is going to feel left out, and it's going to, be held. They're going to have to hold the short end of the stick. It's unfortunate for Florida State because, again, they did go undefeated and they won all the games they had to. But when it comes down to who's going to be able to play for a championship in this league, strength of schedule matters. How you beat your opponents matter. It's like the in-season tournament in a sense, where point differential comes into play so that, we can see who's truly the better team. And I think that was kind of the case for Florida State, in my honest opinion. So.
Nice. I got a question for you guys, and it has to do with Michigan's reaction to getting Bama in the first round of the playoffs. Do you guys think that they drew Michigan? Well, that Michigan drew Bama as punishment for Jim Harbaugh and the sign stealing scandal? Because
that's funny.
They seemed overwhelmingly just upset that they drew Bama in the first round. What do you guys think about that?
Overwhelmingly upset and just underwhelmed in general. But Kev, what do you think?
I mean, I think they were just expecting Florida State. And I think that they were like in their heads, like, oh, we got to this defense against that quarterback. It's a cakewalk to the national championship. And then they got Bama and they were like, damn, for real, we got to actually play to get there. So that's what I think that was.
I think they looked at Coach Harbaugh like, "You're gonna be out there, right?
We didn't suspend you for that one, right? You good,
straight,
right?
Hey
And
man,
then-
you burned the rest of that shit, right?
right. Real quick, just on that game, we'll talk about it more as the weeks come. They're gonna have a week off, and then they'll start game week. But Jalen Milroe, like total different quarterback. Like Kev said, like this Alabama team is not the team we saw weeks 1 through 5, weeks 1 through 6, and they're not the cream of the crop by far. They're not Georgia. They're not even necessarily the team to beat. But they're still Alabama. They're still a Nick Saban coached team. They're still a team with some of the most elite athletes on their roster, and probably in this playoff tournament. So that just gives them that edge to go out there and be confident enough that no matter who we play, what scheme we got to draw up, we have the confidence and the players to make plays. So it's going to be scary for Michigan, and I'm interested to see how really JJ McCarthy is going to come out this game, because this is a big game for him. Obviously, he has NFL dreams, and I think that he can get drafted. I don't see him, being necessarily the starting quarterback at the next level every Sunday, but he has to show that, he can beat an Alabama. He can go against an elite defense and take control, and not just, glamorize the Big Ten. So I would really like to see JJ McCarthy come out and really get a win against this Bama team. What's up, Kev?
I got to go back and look, but I almost feel like last time I was on here and we talked about college football, I may not have said it. I don't remember, but I said to somebody, I was like, Bama's going to find a way to sneak into the playoff, aren't they? And this is like 3-4 weeks ago. I said this just because I knew if they beat Georgia, if they went the rest of the way undefeated and played Georgia and won, you got to put them in. And that's just so. And it's like Saban always figures out a way. So it would not surprise me at all if Bama wins the whole thing.
Last thing before we move on, we take it to the NFL. Florida State obviously in recent years expressed a desire to leave the ACC and join a better conference. And they're going to get a chance to play SEC football against Georgia in these playoffs. I personally think they're going to get the brakes beat off of them. You're not ready for that SEC defense. You're not ready for that SEC. Well, I'm going to say off. I think that game's going to be low scoring. Again, we'll get into that when the time comes. I do think that will be a low scoring game. But I don't see Florida State being able to hang in there with Georgia when the time comes. Don't know how you guys feel about that, but those are just my sentiments.
You said Florida State versus Georgia?
In the Orange Bowl, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the part of the committee that's annoying because, obviously this is the game that has to be the matchup, but like, come on. If we're talking about we didn't want Florida State to be in this top 4 because of their quarterback situation or whatever the case, like put them against Georgia in the Orange Bowl.
Okay. Well, they're the ACC champion.
Yeah, I get it. No. Yeah. You're right. So for that matter, hey, fuck it. I mean, it's gonna be a long night for Florida State regardless.
Yeah, Florida State's gonna have to score at least 20, and that's like considering Georgia's offense has a bad night.
I don't see that
because they're going to.
I'm watching this Monday Night Football telecast here.
Yeah, I wanted to tap into that too. Overtime.
It's overtime, 31-31. They're showing baddies in Jacksonville on TV.
So Flo.
Calvin Ridley gets a North Flo, but Calvin Ridley gets a 50-yard bomb to the 3-yard line, but it comes back because of a hold. I mean, this is a good game here. We got C.J. Beathard, the battle of the backups right now. C.J. Beathard had to come in for Trevor Lawrence because he went down with a bad ankle injury. So we'll have to see what's his status going into the, I guess, future of the season. But sorry, go ahead, EP.
No, you're good. Listen, big implications for me. I need the Bengals to pull this off. I need the Chiefs to move back up to at least 3 right now. We're slipping, we're falling, and it looks like we can't get up. RPDMX. We'll take it to the NFL since we're on that right now. And we talked, we've Kev, we've been having the Sunday evening episodes to just kind of be able to recap the NFL slate with, kind of concisively, if that's even a word. Apologize to the viewers for that. This is 2 days in a row I've had horrible vocabulary, but I digress. Kev had some sentiments that he wanted to get off of his chest as far as his beloved New York Jets and the fact that reports came out today that Zach Wilson said he ain't want to start no more. I don't want to play no more, coach. But then Saleh, being stand-up players coach, came out and said, "Hey, he didn't actually say that. The total opposite happened. We had a conversation. The reports are kind of leaky as far as to whether it was before or after the other report came out." Kev, talk to me. How you feeling about your Jets?
Well, Zach Wilson. As far as Zach Wilson goes, I believe the quote was that he's reluctant to play if he's chosen as the starting quarterback. Which, I mean, I get because I'm reluctant to watch at this point. It's I'd rather watch any of the high school football teams in my area. There are much better offenses, at least quarterback wise and offensive line wise.
That's crazy.
But I will say that the quarterback play has been so bad, and I can't even. I mean, I don't know because the offensive line wasn't even terrible against Atlanta. But I will say that the offensive line is in shambles. We're down to our third string at left tackle and right tackle, I believe, and our fourth string at left guard and our fifth string center. So offensive line has not endured the season very well. I do think Becton came back last week, though. So that might have been a reason why the offensive line was a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, it's just so bad. Like the offense is so bad. I feel like the offense is like the part of your football team that you want to see, right? Like you want to see them score points. For me, I want to see the defense because that's the only time I can like clap or celebrate. Because it's like Brees Hall for 1 yard or -2 yards because the offensive line can't get any movement up front, and then a bad throw to Garrett Wilson. And then take a deep shot or maybe just run it because it's 3rd and long and you don't want to throw an interception. So the offense has literally been like painful to watch. And yeah, that's where I'm at. It's like I was saying, it almost feels like this year I've come to the realization that it doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter who we get. Because at the end of the day, we're still the goddamn Jets. And that's just all we're going to be. So that's a
quick question.
Would
you have liked to see your team sign Joe Flacco after seeing his performance in his debut with the Bills?
No.
Oh my God.
It literally, I don't think right now. I mean, granted, like I said, Becton was back. I think Schweister was back also. So the offensive line against Atlanta was much better than it has been in the last 2-3 weeks. But it does. These last 2-3 weeks before the Atlanta game, it doesn't matter who was at quarterback. I don't think anybody would have succeeded behind that offensive line that they were running out there. It was literally guys who were being called up. We had our right guard move over to center because we were on our 3rd string center. He got hurt. Our 4th string center came in, got hurt. And we had to move our right guard to center who hadn't played center since college. And the first snap was a fumble. So like, that's just the way the season's gone for the Jets. And it's not like what can your quarterback that you got and is supposed to be the savior of everything goes down in 4 plays. Like that was just the outlier for how the season was going to go. And it was gone. Literally, we're sitting here like the biggest news with the Jets is like, is Aaron Rodgers going to come back this week?
Right.
From a torn Achilles. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, we're not in a great place. I think if we were in a better place, then the news wouldn't be so as Aaron Rodgers coming back to save the Jets because we wouldn't need to be saved. He would just be able to come in and ease his way back in. But yeah, there's no saving this team at this point. I would say tank and like lose as much as you can and just get a better draft pick. But if we have a top 5 draft pick that hasn't really gone well for us, so except for Sauce, shout out to Sauce and Garrett. I mean, he was 10, but I'll take it.
Hey, real quick, Monday Night Football live looking. It's 31-all overtime.
T. Higgins.
T. Higgins caught a first down. Jamar Chase just got close to another first down. They're going to be short, 2 yards short. So right now it looks like the Bengals are in full control of this game. They got the ball at the 35 or so. Next score wins. Jake Browning, I must say, coming into overtime, 28 of 32 for 318 yards and a touchdown. I mean, who would have thought? I think he also has a rushing touchdown. So just much credit to him. We spoke last night on here, EP, you and I, and they got the ball at the 32, by the way. And I came up here and I laid down a list of teams that the Colts play for the rest of the season. I was very excited because when you look at things, we don't have an elite quarterback that we have to play against for the rest of the season. We got the Bengals next week. We got the Steelers the following week, Falcons, Raiders, and then, okay, here comes Mr. Elite, best quarterback in the league, CJ Stroud with the Texans. Now, this is listen, he's not an elite quarterback, right? Jake Browning for the Bengals. But what he's doing tonight against this Jaguars defense and the number 2 seed in the AFC, number 2 or 3 seed in the AFC, it's nothing short of impressive. And we have to acknowledge the fact that he's been able to come out here all night and stand in the face of pressure. And he has this Jacksonville team on the ropes with Evan McPherson, you know what I'm saying, ready to kick a game-winning field goal on the road. So with that being said, my Colts, I think we still win next week. I still
number
think
3 seed. By the way.
Yeah, okay. Our defense, being top 5 in sacks and in turnovers and in fumbles forced, I think we have a great chance. This is a little alarming. I mean, this kid has come in and he's played really good out of Washington, and you just got to give credit, bro. You got to give credit.
No, absolutely.
That's another thing, real quick, that just absolutely pisses me off. Because how many backup quarterbacks, even like you said, you mentioned Joe Flacco earlier. How many quarterbacks? How many quarterbacks like backups and like guys off the street, even PJ Walker and Dorian Thompson-Robinson have looked okay at times. Like we have Tim Boyle, who's thrown more interceptions than touchdowns since college, and he's starting quarterback for our team. Like why is Tim Boyle starting NFL games? And why is that's crazy. Like Trevor Siemian can't even. I don't get it.
Hey, listen, somehow, some way, you referenced Joe Flacco a second ago, June. This 38-year-old man managed to scrum up $370,000 from the Browns. So kudos to that motherfucker. And kudos to the Browns for trusting that motherfucker enough to give him $500,000 with about $144,000 of it guaranteed, which is hilarious. Just give me the whole 3 whatever, bro. What are you gonna
Yeah.
Anyway.
Any pitch.
Hey, I apologize to the viewers if my light flicker is impairing to the eye. I'm not sure what's going on here, but
Nah, you're good.
You're
in a
I'll
horror
pay for a
movie
better
right now,
light. I'm sorry.
Kev sounds like he's horrified. So you must be in the movie right now, bro, with the light flickering and all that.
There you go.
What the hell? Next score wins. 3 minutes left. Please, Bengals, pull this off. I need it because the Chiefs decided to not want to finish games this year. But hey, I digress. And we'll move on to the NBA, where the Indiana Pacers sent home the Boston Celtics. Boston just got to Vegas and took a flight back to Boston.
Yeah.
And the Pacers will stay there. Jason Tatum did have 30. Wait, oh, it's in Indy?
Game was the quarterfinals are at one of the home team.
Heard that. So now Boston's flying back home and Indiana's
And Indy's
flying
going to Vegas.
Indy's going to Vegas. Apologies, correction. Appreciate you, Kev. Jason Tatum had a minus 14 while he was on the floor today, even though he had 32 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. And Halliburton, man, just continuing to ball. I love his comments. I think it was yesterday of him saying he's tired of losing, being a loser. He appreciates all the personal accolades and the personal, trophies and stuff that he's gotten, but he wants to win. And his performance on the court at a plus 15 today against the Celtics, who everybody, again, they were 5.5-point favorites today, and everyone was counting Indiana out. Not as strong as the Celtics. Won't be able to get past the Celtics in these quarterfinals. And Halliburton came out and told them the same thing that June told Cardi last night. Man, shut up, bro. 26 points, 10 rebounds, 13 assists. Single-handedly responsible for at least, 52 points at the very minimum, if all of those assists came with 2-point buckets. Indiana looks to be rolling. 11-8 on the season, 7-5 at home. June, they're second, right behind Milwaukee in their division. How do you feel about Indiana? Are they a force to be reckoned with this year, or is it too early in the season to make that conclusion?
I wouldn't say force to be reckoned with. I do think this is a team that can find their way into the playoffs, and then if they do, they're going to be the team that nobody wants to play. So, first of all, Tyrese Halliburton, all NBA, you know what I'm saying, first team. Like that's what this guy has in his future. And when we talk about Luka Doncic, when we talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, like Tyrese Halliburton has kind of just put himself in that bracket. And it's like he doesn't have a sexy game. Like it's not like the flashiest. It's not. He doesn't have a pretty jump shot, but the man just makes the right play. He plays basketball with pace. He has amazing court vision. And he's that type of guy that just makes his teammates better. This is a young team, Indiana, with guys like, obviously Miles Turner still there, Buddy Hield's still there, but Benedict Mathurin is a great pickup. They drafted. Obi Toppin has come in this year and made a great impact in their front court. TJ McConnell's been solid, his career and throughout his tenure in Indy. I do think this is a playoff team right now. As things stand, it's obviously we're 20 games into the season, 19 or so, but they put themselves in they've given themselves the opportunity to win the play-in tournament. They're in the semifinal, and obviously they're going to have to play the winner of New York or Milwaukee. But I don't think that's so far-fetched. Like I truly see this Indiana Pacers team coming into the playoffs as maybe a 6, 7, 8 seed, and then just kind of raising hell for whoever their first round opponent is, whether they win that series or not, and more likely not than so. But yeah, man, I like this Pacers team, and Halliburton, he's just going to keep on being him. I mean, you said a triple-double. He had a late 4-point play in that game to put him up, and as Rick Carlisle, like you've got to be just salivating when you're watching tape on Halliburton and how teams have to game plan against him. So shout out to Tyrese, man. He's and real quick, people ask like, did the Kings trade the wrong point guard? Did the Kings no? I think both teams won in that trade, and De'Aaron Fox was the guy for the job in Sacramento, and Domantas Sabonis made Sacramento become what they are. Giving Tyrese Halliburton the freedom and the opportunity to do what he's doing in Indy is working out great for them. Not to say that Halliburton wasn't going to be this player in Sacramento. Sacramento isn't necessarily known for developing young talent, and you can see a history of maybe some stunted growth over there, or just like that all-star on their team that doesn't get any help, i.e. Boogie Cousins, right? And so I think it worked out great for both Tyrese Halliburton, both Domantas Sabonis, and they're both in situations themselves that have them. Look at the Kings right now. I mean, they're playing right now. Actually,
They are
they've got the Pelicans in the quarterfinals. They're
down
winning.
by 10.
Excuse me, they're down by 10
Down
in the
8.
third. But I mean, that Kings team is a playoff team. That Kings team is a surefire playoff team in the West. And so, just to kind of answer that social media question that I see, if they got the trade, if Sacramento traded the wrong point guard, no, I don't think that either team, Indy or Sacramento, would have the success they're having right now had they not made that trade. Just wanted to point that out.
Kev, how you feel about it?
Well, first of all, I want to say Adam Silver.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Because I absolutely love the tournament. I know the players are, to quote Ime Udoka, bitching about this point differential.
We're gonna get to that.
About the point differential situation. But I thought it made for great basketball, like great drama at the end of games that were blowouts. And so I know June had something. Or it looked like
it looks like there's a flag on the play in overtime, but it looks like it's going to stand. Unsportsmanlike conduct on the defense. Bengals win. Evan McPherson hits a game-winning field goal against the Jaguars. And Bengals, look at them, 6-6. Jaguars fall to 8-4. The Colts, I must say, Kev, I want you to get back to this point with the Pacers and how you're feeling, but the Colts are just 2 games out of first place in that AFC. They're just 2 games out of, just let that be known. Since we're talking about Indy, had to bring up the Colts. But go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, so I love the in-season tournament. I love the point differential. I hope they keep it going that way and don't decide to do anything with that, because I think it makes for great drama, especially in those fourth games that are, where like Golden State needed to beat Sacramento by, 11 or 13 or something like that. Like Golden State's up 6 playing like they're down. And Golden State eventually loses that game, which could cost them down the line, whether it's seeding or a playoff spot. One game could cost you, you lose that game. And so it's like, it's a real fine line, and you got to, tote that line, but also you got to win your games. And that's just all it comes down to. And so I love it. It gives like extra incentive. There's extra energy. You could feel it in the buildings. Every every fan base wants their team to win anything, whether it's a game, a tournament more so, because every team participates. But so I love it. As far as the Pacers, I actually tweeted earlier, Tyrese Halliburton is becoming one of my favorite basketball players to watch. He always makes the right play, always makes the right pass, sometimes doesn't take the right shot, but it still goes in. Like, he is incredible. He had a 2-game stretch where he had 32 assists, so he averaged 66 with 0 turnovers. With 0 turnovers in 2 games. And averaged 29 points on 70% plus shooting from the field and like 52% from 3. That is ridiculous. That's ridiculous for 1 game, let alone 2, back to back. So he's special. And like you said, Luka, and it's funny because Carlisle was Luka's first coach, and then kind of unlocked Tyrese when he got to Indiana. So I think Carlisle deserves a lot of credit, and I think Tyrese Halliburton will probably tell you the same thing. As far as him just putting him in the right spots to succeed, in the right position to succeed, because he can kind of run the point like Luka a little bit with the way he gets to his step back and he gets to his spots and just knows how to play the game, and he plays at his pace. And so I love the Pacers. I think it's going to be interesting to see like the people that are always surrounded in those trade talks, the Buddy Hields, the Miles Turners, like, is this the year that they move them to maybe bring somebody else in, or do they run with what they've got because it's working? But so I think, maybe they do make a move eventually. And I think Tyrese is also that player that is like, yo, if I go play with him, he's going to get me the ball in the right spot. The guy averages 12 assists a game, I think, or close to it. So, if you're a shooter, if you're a scorer, you can rely on a guy like that to get you the ball in the right spots. And so he's an intriguing person to play with, even being in Indiana.
There it is. And like you just said, we got Kings Pelicans live right now. Kings down, third quarter. Already lost to the Pelicans twice this season. We're looking to see the Pelicans hopefully hold on to move forward in this NBA in-season tournament. McCollum and company, it looks good when it looks good, and it looks bad when it looks bad. Zion Williamson, I mean, he said he's still trying to buy in. His performance and the numbers still look like he's still trying to buy in these days. Don't know what's going on with that. They're playing non-sustainable basketball, and we're early. I know we're early on into the season, but they're just playing non-sustainable basketball. Maybe they're just playing for the $500,000 right now. And I feel you. If I had $500,000 in my pocket right now, shit.
Hey, and to that point, I saw that there was a tweet that said the Pacers have 10 different players who are making less than $3 million, and a few of them are on the two-way contracts. I think 3 of them or so. And so, like, you could see the elation when they won that game or when they made that big play coming down the stretch against Boston. The bench just got up and just couldn't contain themselves. I mean, listen, we look at the NBA as a billion-dollar business. Obviously, it's a global brand where these guys are making a lot of money. Some feel like some of these guys are making more money than they should. And whether that's the case or not, the truth is there are a bunch of men making $30 million, $20 million. There's guys making $5 million. But there's a lot of guys on, $800,000, $900,000 salaries, which let's be honest, right? First world problems. But when you look at, the people you're competing with, that's in the 1%, you know what I'm saying? So the fact that they have the opportunity to compete for this amount of money, what player is gonna, not go hard for $500,000? I mean, wouldn't you? And I think RJ Barrett was quoted saying, like, if there was if the in-season tournament is giving them like more fuel to play harder or whatever, and he's just like, I mean, it's $500,000. Like, let's be honest. What person doesn't want to win $500,000? So, I mean, that's a vacation for you and your family, and you know what I'm saying, maybe somebody else's family. And
Word up.
And then I love the competition here.
That is a nice vacation.
Yeah, let that be clear. That's not just a vacation. I mean, Drake and his friends could spend $70,000 on a vacation. We're talking about $500,000.
Yeah, man. If y'all thought my trip to Italy this past couple of months in September was nice, that $500,000 vacation is different. I'm going to the moon, bro. Fuck Italy.
I wouldn't even go to Nice. I'll go to Nephew.
Hey man, let's take it over to a much more mellow tone. At least for me and June, we'll take it over to college basketball. A lot of upsets this week. In the group chat, a lot of the homies were saying, "Yo, Vegas is working hard." A lot of top seeds were falling to non-Power 5 schools and things like that. In me and June's realm, Duke Blue Devils lose 2 out of 3. And the one loss in those last 3 is Southern Indiana, which I'm not even going to talk about. These back-to-back losses at Arkansas. The Arkansas game, all right, we have a bad game here and there. It's on the road at Arkansas, tough place to play in. One of the homies from
Still a bad loss.
Yeah, one of the homies from the Spaces was there. They stormed the court on us. John Shire was having trouble getting off the court. Had security surrounding him trying to get off the court. Bet. I'm looking during this Arkansas game, and I'm like, damn, when do we I'm in Atlanta now, so when do they play Georgia Tech? Damn, we played Georgia Tech this weekend last week. Oh, damn, I wish I could go. Can't go. That sucks. They go to McCamish Pavilion is what it's called down here in downtown Atlanta. And fall down early, fight back, make it a game late, make some dumb decisions, end up losing the game, dropping back-to-back games, 72-68. Although alarming and sad, a bit exciting, because I think this is where we're gonna see what John Shire and company are really made of. We've dropped to 9th in the ACC, to number 22 out of the top 25, losing our first opening conference play. And for a second, we were up. 2.5 minutes left in the game. We're up 4 after Mitchell dunks the ball. Gets a little emotional, which, hey, I can understand. You're in Atlanta. I know they're jarring at you. There's no question that they're jarring at you. They're up on Duke. It's Duke. You're beating Duke right now. But the one thing that you cannot do as a Duke Blue Devil is jaw back. He gets a taunting tech. Georgia Tech makes both free throws, gets the ball because that's the rule in college, and that's all she wrote. I don't even know what else to say about this, man. It's disappointing. You can't lose your opening conference play like that. I get that you're on the road. CFP weekend. Atlanta is booming. The energy in Atlanta is strong right now. You just can't drop that game, especially in the manner that you did when it was yours for the taking. June, how you feeling so far about this second year in John Shire head coached Duke basketball team?
I mean, we're still early, right? We just got to December, so I'm not going to give too much thought into like evaluation as far as Shire and his tenure here. I think last year spoke a lot of volumes in what he's capable of and what kind of coach he is, how the players rally behind him. And this program, as storied as it is, and as well as hated and respected, but both in the same breath, immensely. I think talent is going to be an issue this year. We're not as heavy as we've been in years past. Excuse me. With Roach and Filipowski.
Proctor went down with an injury in the first half of that Georgia Tech game as well, ankle injury. Tyrese Proctor from Sydney, Australia.
So, we're gonna look for our top 2 to carry a lot this season, and how sustainable that is, I'm not sure. Who's gonna get hot later in this year? Heading into March and the ACC battle and into March, that's gonna be telling. And so I'll wait for February, late January, February to kind of evaluate to see how guys are playing, because right now I don't think Duke is a national championship team, right? I don't see that for them at this moment. Through adversity, through, ups and downs and ebb and flow of the season, and John Shire being as good of a coach as we see him to be, it can be a possibility. And so, we'll kind of let it play its course, and we'll let John Shire coach his way through the season and see if he can get his guys prepared and ready for the gauntlet of the tournament when that time comes. Because right now, I think that we're not as good as the best teams, so it's going to take a little more. And well-coached teams figure those ways out.
Listen, we'll host Charlotte on the 9th. We'll host Hofstra on the 12th, and then we get our next big challenge when we host number 6 Baylor later this month.
I must say I love that matchup right there, because Baylor is a tough Big 12 team to play, and to be able to play them pretty early in the season, it's not a lot of, if you lose this game, it's not going to end the world. So I love the task. Be prepared for it. But I think that matchup will show a lot about where this team is going forward.
Georgia Tech, we'll see you January 13th in Cameron Indoor Stadium. And I'm smiling now that I see that. Hey, man, I want to give a quick shout out to the Kansas Jayhawks. Pulled off a great win against UConn. And my specific shout out is actually going to be to KJ Adams, their, I believe, junior forward. Had a hell of a game, knocked down some very important free throws, all on the back end of losing his mother on November 17th. Was flying out to his mother's funeral the day after the UConn game. And those type of performances You know, I can bring up Brett Favre type of performances after losing this farther, where you just muster up the strength and the tenacity and the resiliency to just come out, play for your team, do it for something bigger than just yourself. Huge shout out to that man, because listen, I've been in similar situations where I've had deadlines to meet, you know, for the production company on the back end of, you know, losing my grandma, and it's tough to stay locked in. It really is. And that was on a personal level. He is on a national level at that point. So
Yep.
big shout out to him to be able to muster all that up and you know, kick some ass. Honestly, kick some ass. June, I'm gonna have you typing mad hard out here. Twitter fingers, yo.
Yeah, my fault. Hey, I'm not all right. So look, let me since we're here, I apologize to those listeners, you know, who I'm a keyboard warrior right now, but I'm in the group chat and I just, you know, if you tuned in last night to our episode, our Sunday night special, I was talking about the Dolphins, man, and it's always going to come back to, can you beat the good teams? Can you beat the teams over 500? And so, you know, obviously with this Bengals win here on Monday night, this is also the first Bengals win on Monday night since 1990 versus the Cleveland Browns. They've been 0-9 since. That's a big thing here. They did it without their starting quarterback. I want to point that out. That gives the Dolphins the number 1 seed in the AFC right now. And so, you know, obviously us being from South Florida, we have a lot of South Florida natives and Dolphins fans in our group chat. Marlon, shout out to you. Shout out to Dre. You know, Marlon pointed out the fact that the Dolphins are the number 1 seed. And I let him know, just real quick, being funny, that he was waiting all night for this game to be over so he could send that text message. Great. Sal points out that they got to beat Baltimore in week 15. Andre says, we beat them the last 3 times, all with the healthy Lamar. I'm not worried. I said, well, hey, they're way better now. Their defense wasn't this elite. Andre says, and are we not? I said, your defense is great. He said they have no Humphrey and their offense is wishy-washy. I said, look, I'm not saying that, though. I'm saying they've been better than they're better than they have been. I said, but I like Baltimore to win. I'm big on Baltimore this season. For those people watching the show, listening all season, you guys know that I'm rooting for Lamar and Baltimore, and I've had high expectations for them. He said, fam, we beat them with Fitzpatrick. We're a much better team. I said, listen, that's got nothing to do with right now. He said, I say that to say this. We are a much better team, even from last year when we beat them. Sal says we beat them 3 times in a row with an elite defense, one of them years. And Andre says, Lamar has 1 good game against us the first time he played us, and we historically lock him up. I said, well, have y'all beat a team over 500 this season? It's no shade, just being real. It's something you guys got to prove. Y'all can make all the points you'd like. He said, have we played 1 home game yet? Dallas, Baltimore, Buffalo, last 3 games. I said, I don't care, bro. You don't need to be home to win. He said, you sound ignorant. If you have all these other quote-unquote great teams that have played, you sound ignorant if you listen, honestly, it's getting to the point where he's starting not to make sense of his words, and it's not going to confuse me or the listeners. The Dolphins got to win a team against a team over 500, whether it's on the road or at the house. I don't want to fucking hear it.
It's not that difficult to understand the concept. Like, you're not going to play these trash teams in the playoffs. So can you beat a good team? That's all that everybody's saying. And Dolphins fans are so up in arms. I've never seen a team that considers themselves to be so good and like the number 1 team in the NFL to be so fucking sensitive about everything that's said about them. They're so sensitive. Yesterday, fucking somebody tweeted something about Tua making a bad throw, and Tyreek had to adjust the ball.
He had to go,
and Tyreek retweeted him.
That's a bad take.
All right, whatever. Bro, Dolphins Twitter wanted this man to say sorry. Like, what are we doing? The guy replied to Tyreek and was like, oh, okay, watching it live, it looked like it was a bad ball.
Right.
Whatever. All right, cool. Bro, everybody got on his ass. Like, you know, you can say you were wrong, blah, blah, blah. Bro, he saw what he saw. He tweeted it. Tyreek told him, this is what happened. And the guy said, oh, okay, it didn't look that way when I saw it live. Thank you for pointing that out. Bro, what do you want him to you want him to say, I'm sorry? Get out of here. You're so sensitive. the most sensitive fan base for a team that's considered to be like this elite Super Bowl contending team. It's a lot of insecurity.
Hey, I want to let the Dolphins fans get the last word right here. Well, it looks like EP is going to have the last word, but he said we also didn't have Jalen Ramsey or Devon A-Chain. And he said, but nah, we got to have this debate on there for real on the podcast. I'm tired of you. I'm tired of you guys with inferior records talking about the Dolphins. There goes to that sensitivity point Kev made. He said, get your dubs up. EP comes with a clapback. Get your rings up. And I'm going to leave it right there.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was this week's Real in Sports. I'm your co-host of this number one sports podcast, your number one sports podcast, all things sports. Tonight we were joined by Big Kev and Mr. Heat M5 himself. We'll see y'all Thursday, man. We're signing out.